This episode is sponsored by Bigger City. Thank you so much for supporting us and helping our show to grow.
Hello and welcome to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we talk about the things that are weighing on our minds. I'm Dan Oliverio, author, public speaker, and chubby chaser. And today I am preparing to batten down the hatches as Los Angeles prepares for rain apocalypse.
Yes.
We've been warned that we could get as much as 4 inches of rain in 24 hours.
Yeah, and in LA, that's just mudslides and floods for days.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like nothing to anywhere else, but over here it means like houses that were on the top of a mountain now being at the bottom of the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
4 inches is a lot in this situation.
Yes, but to be fair, Don, that when that happens, we call it rent control.
Ooh.
Bam.
But it's the only thing that'll lower your rent in Los Angeles?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Trevor Keyson. I'm a super chub, and I am battened down. My loins are girded.
I've checked.
Sandbags and water bottled.
Yes, his loins have been sandbagged.
Well done. Well done. My name is Michael Willer. I am a chubby chaser, and even though I am no longer in the greater Los Angeles area, I am in the greater Las Vegas area, and it is also going to get slammed by the same hurricane. So we're all just waiting to be floating home.
Hey, Las Vegas, less rain, but less prepared for it.
Exactly.
There's a balance to all. It's the circle of life. Hey there, guys. My name's Don Marshall. I'm a big chubby guy living here in sunny Hollywood. And today I am a well-caffeinated chai latte boy because
Yay.
I just woke up and I really need more caffeine. And this chai latte is my one lifeline to wakedness.
Yeah.
When you said you were a chai latte boy, I'm imagining, like, is that a D&D character I've never heard of? Oh my God, he's being attacked by a giant chai latte.
I don't know. I just realized,
That's
like,
a good name.
I think my coloration could be described as chai latte.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, well, let's get into our episode. To start off, we're going to be a little more expeditious. So to Patreon, thank you very much. You guys make these episodes possible with your support, and we deeply appreciate it. And that's it.
and if you want to know why you'd be a supporter, it's to support us, and also we have wonderful content there on our Patreon page.
Yes.
Exactly. All right, now into the episode.
As we dance into this, I have to say, I was listening to the latest episode last night, and I was like, man, I hope people like this music as much as we do, because
We like it way too much.
Yeah. And I was like, man, are there people that just like, God, just get to it. So we're getting to it.
They wouldn't if they could see us. If they could see the four of us dancing around to the music in our seats here.
Which you
Which
can
they
on Patreon.
can't. All right, first up, we're going in hard, hot and heavy.
So we talked about this a few weeks ago. And saying
Sort of.
We've put it off as long as we could.
Yeah. Lizzo, that whole situation, allegations
Yes.
against Lizzo. And I saw a couple different kind of pieces breaking down the situation and commenting on it. But this piece from Refinery 29, I felt like was kind of the best take I read, because there were some others that compared Lizzo to Donald Trump.
Oh, come on.
And just
What?
like the followers having
What?
to deal with, it was a weird thing. It was
That is a
yeah.
strange way to do
But
that.
this piece by
Baseka
Baseka,
Kayembe?
yes, Baseka Kayembe.
Sorry if we got that wrong. It's a very cool
kind
name.
of breaking down the problem with so many people in Lizzo facing these allegations and repercussions, and just reveling in it by using fat phobia to take her down.
Yeah, and basically say, like, we knew it. There's no way this fat black woman could possibly have been so happy and positive. She's a total falsehood. She's a liar, you know. And
I mean, look at her. She's fat.
Exactly. How could anything she'd be doing be authentic? I think the great thing that this article does is it keeps it in perspective going both directions. Like, it's important to remember that she is human. She has some pretty serious allegations against her that may or may not be true, but, you know, this is something that she's going to be dealing with, and it's important for us not to essentially put her on this pedestal of being this perfect person. And at the same time, also for the people who have just been looking for an excuse to take her down, this doesn't mean first of all, they're just allegations for the moment. We don't have anything proven. But also, this, even if they are true, this doesn't mean that she's like this monster. And we, like, what's the phrase? Like, the only thing better than, it's from The Dark Knight. Like, the only thing people like better than seeing a hero succeed is seeing a hero fall, or whatever.
Yeah. That's very true.
Words to that effect.
I mean, and a lot of British media is based on that axiom.
Right. It's important to just keep, which is partially, by the way, a listener pointed out the last time we talked about this, I think it was 2 episodes ago, the beautiful irony of us, extolling how our new recording schedule meant that we could respond to things immediately in the moment, and then skipping over our a chance to do that with Lizzo. But the point of doing that was not to add to the cacophony.
Yeah, because right now, this is going to be so played out in the social media wars. It's going to be everywhere all the time, and it'll be old news by the time they actually get to any legal proceedings.
Any truth, because all we have is words.
We just have allegations. We have allegations and 10 times as much commentary on the allegations.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, well, and this article talks about saying, like waiting for due process, kind of like, and taking things into perspective. Something this article touched on a little that I'm surprised like I've been thinking about a lot, because I've seen discussions about it online, is the idea of, so one of the allegations was that Lizzo and her dancers went to this kind of like dance club, sex club.
It sounded like a burlesque show, strip show, something like that.
And that one of the dancers felt pressured to do certain acts, but this whole like kind of thing of like, it is us going out as a group and like a girls trip, and the idea of like social pressure from work, and like we're a family, and like this whole just weird like boundaries need to be set. And I think that is kind of what didn't happen.
It sounds to me like it wasn't, I don't know. I mean, this is my own 2 cents, but listening to the stories about it, it sounds like it wasn't specifically directed at any one person so much as there was an environment going on that made all of this feel okay from people in power. And it wasn't just Lizzo. The people, and I find this lawsuit interesting for this specific reason. It's the first lawsuit I've ever followed where the people suing someone are going out of their way to say, this is not a bad person. They are specifically trying to say, like, she is not full of bullshit, but this is some bad shit that happened there. And I've never seen the people suing someone go out of their way to try and do that.
Well, I think it comes back to something that Trevor was touching on, is that people in power often, do not perceive the extent of their power, because like, I'm the boss, but we're at a bar. So I'm not still the boss. Yeah. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. If you go out with your boss in any social situation, you go to your boss's house for dinner, you invite your boss over to your house. They're always your boss. There is never a situation in which they are not your boss. But I think the pressure that people perceive, the boss is unaware of, because they think they're just having fun, and they don't get that they never get to put down that mantle unless they are not around employees.
And there's a very real aspect of this too, which is that somebody like Lizzo and many other talented creative artists who start with nothing and build themselves up, they bring their friends and family with them. They employ them. They give them jobs that are related to that sort of budding starring career. We saw this when we went to see Lizzo's show, that one of her best friends is also her DJ. And so you get this element where everything, all the lines are blurred even before you hire dancers through, and the dancers, I think, are the primary subjects of the lawsuit. So you're not subjects, but the ones bringing the lawsuit. And so, you have this atmosphere of, I get to work with my friends and family. They all know me. We're all, but Dan's point is correct, I would say, is like, you're running a business now, and the more success and attention that comes onto this business, the more intense the environment, the higher the stakes, and therefore I think the likelier it is that you're going to step on toes or screw up fully. We don't know what the truth is yet.
I think with that, the like increasing pressure cooker environment, when things become a, multi-million, billion, whatever dollar corporation, you can't have slumber party vibes anymore. It's not like I think
not without inviting the HR department.
That is the risk of creating a business with your friends. They literally turned their friendship vibe into their workplace vibe, and then assumed anyone stepping into it would just click into it and feel that they were part of the friendship vibe that was now the workplace.
Yeah.
And that's a big assumption. Yeah.
Well, but even if, because this stuff that comes up like this also happens in friendships. The difference is that, what is a hurt feeling in a friendship is a lawsuit in a corporation.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's not just a friendship. It is you're in an industry, and that burned friendship bridge becomes possible, blacklisting and
end of your career.
Yeah.
Right. If you bring charges, if you say something, because now you're not just the friend who got dissed, you are the disgruntled employee who will never be hired because you're seen as a problem.
Yeah. And I hate to quite put it in these terms, but these are fat dancers, right? Yeah. This is probably the biggest opportunity and the biggest venue that they have available to them in this time period in the world at this time.
And they know it. They friggin' know it.
Well, and this is, I think, one of the most salient points in the article, and this is what she ends on, is how important it is for us to remember that it can be really challenging for people in this position, in sort of the lower position, to come forward and say, hey, this happened, because they're facing being blacklisted in their industry. I mean, this is where Me Too really got its momentum, was that the first, people who actually got to break that ground fully with Harvey Weinstein and many others, they risked their whole careers. And many people before them, by the way, that there were perhaps fewer articles about, did lose their careers when they came forward and said this happened, and Me Too hadn't happened yet, and that momentum wasn't there yet.
Whenever this happens, you can almost guarantee that there was a first wave of accusers that we never heard about, who lost their jobs and lost their livelihoods and had to go somewhere else.
So the point is, again, at the end of this article, she says we should be creating a safe space for people to come forward and say this happened, and then ultimately wait for the truth and see, wait for due process to occur and see where it takes us.
Well, even better is, and because that's the social media angle but just interpersonally, workplaces need to have a way to address this. And it's really, really tough because it's not HR, because HR is not your friend. But an ombudsman, a lot of companies have ombudsman, which is a much better idea, I think. Someone who's neutral.
Oh, yeah, that is a great idea. Anyway, so it's a great article. I think it puts things in a very fair light that doesn't go super pro or anti Lizzo, and basically says, people, keep your pants on. The place isn't burning down. We just need to ride this out and see what happens. Next up, I mean, we've been saying this for a while now, but hey, your clothes were never meant to fit you.
That's the title of this New York Times article. It's an op-ed. Your clothes were never meant to fit you. Yes, that's correct. And
by Elizabeth Endicott.
Yeah, which is sort of like, and water is wet. Anybody who is not a fit model has learned this. And the reason that fit models, because it's made for you. That's the whole point of being a fit model. You've been selected to have the clothes made for you. But anybody who's not that particular size or dimension, there's so many great things in this article about talking about things that we've mentioned and because they've been in other articles about how, we thought plus size clothing was having a moment and then the moment went away. That stores
we have mentioned that, didn't we?
We did. Or that stores that were carrying quote unquote extended sizes, meaning more than the normal skinny people stuff. They've scaled that back.
I love that the extended sizes for it mentions in here, I think it was Old Navy, that the extended sizes actually started including the average size for women in the United States.
Isn't that amazing? I think the article quotes that 2/3 of American women are size 14 or above.
And I have to say again, as a guy, I don't know what that means. I'm assuming that means big. But
it does. But there's a thing in the article that, and it's, again, this is one of the themes, is that it's always for and about women. That fat men, apparently do not exist in the universe.
I had to say, when she said somewhere, it's like, men's sizing is more straightforward, and it's like, is it though? I don't know if it's because
Ostensibly, that's true. In practice, not so much.
No, no. The only reason,
no, because they use inches for men at least.
Yeah, but they don't because you can buy a size 34 and it could be any range of waist sizes. Trevor, we interrupted you.
Yeah, I would argue that maybe it's true in the sense that like the types of garments that are constructed for men, there's less variance because it's like there's shirts and there's pants or shorts, and that's kind of like end of list of garments, as opposed to like, blouses and dresses and, different cuts of dresses and jumpsuits and rompers but
does it have straps? Is it, shoulders only?
What's a romper? No, don't answer that. It's all good.
I don't know if like, I have never heard of a men's big and tall fit model. I know some, plus size fit models, because I just find so often it's like, who is this garment constructed for? Who did they put this on?
Yeah.
It's like, yes, this looks perfect. Send it out.
This is a very common theme for me when I'm buying shirts is for some reason they feel that it should be a V shape, even on a big guy. Like for some reason, even on like some of the smaller shirts, the bottom of the shirt narrows. And I'm like, why would you do that to me?
That's what I wanted to say in response to what Trevor was saying, that, men's clothes, they're just not that complicated. You got a chest size, you got a waist size, you have an inseam, and we're done. Maybe a rise if you get really complicated and get into suits. But my point is that actually men's clothing is considerably more variable than that. Something that that I go through is the fit because you've got the slim fit and the full cut and the loose cut and like all these mystery adjectives that just don't tell you what the cut is. They're trying to use adjectives that you will identify with, and you're like, but what does it mean?
Boot cut is if you're a boot.
If I'm a boot to do what?
Slim fit means it won't fit your ass. Boot cut means it won't fit your calves.
Yeah, but that's
athletic cut means it's stretchy because that makes sense.
Yeah. So you're dealing with all these miscellaneous adjectives that are just marketing terms, have no way to guiding fit. There's a company that I've been struggling with where they want you to describe your body, but they have all these miscellaneous adjectives, and to make it even worse, they say, "Oh, and by the way, have you had problems with this fit in previous years? Because if so, check this box." Like, what's that going to do?
Change the entire course of your purchase.
What is it going to do? Anyway, so it's a mess.
So I will say we've buried the lead on this article because this is just the setup to the actual point she's making, which is when she was younger and trying to get a prom dress, and there weren't any decent options, and they were all in black and dark navy, and of course, hide the curves. Her grandmother said, "Look, let's make it ourselves, toots. Like we can." And her grandmother was like a master seamstress, but the point was, in the article writer's mind, Elizabeth, I believe, in Elizabeth's mind at the time, she was like, I associated sewing your own garment with like very old timey, like
poverty.
Floral, and like very like frumpy patterns and frocks, and the thing is that just doesn't have to be the case. And so she talks about the freedom she felt when eventually she started sewing her own garments in her later 20s. Wearing something that didn't pinch, that didn't restrict, that actually just fit her, and how incredible that was, and that she could essentially have access to garments that really were made to fit, which is incredible.
I've recently had a couple of dates with pretty big fat guys, both of them well over 400 pounds, and they looked amazing. And I said, wow, where did you get that? And they're like, oh, I'm friends with so-and-so who happens to be a clothing designer. And a lot of their, because we live in Los Angeles. And so a lot of the success they've had in style is based on their relationship with a designer. I don't know what you do if you don't have that relationship. Where do you go?
Well, I'll be honest. There are classes around in most places that can teach you how to make your own clothing. Most sewing and knitting stores have somebody on staff. It's like a Home Depot for making your own clothing. Just go there. They will help you learn.
Okay. But I'm curious because I took a garment construction class in college, and the first project was making a pair of shorts in size 2. And it's like, you can't helpful. That's just what you make. It's not, you don't get to learn to make clothes that
because
would fit your body.
and I went through this too in school. They are supplying the fabric. They are going to make you make the smallest possible project.
We had to buy we had to buy.
Oh, you had to buy the fabric. There's no fucking
Colin,
excuse.
That's
but
there's no excuse then.
No, there is. Look, the problem is, and this is mentioned in the article, it's not the fabric, it's the pattern. There aren't patterns widely available for a lot of large sizes. And so there are people online who are beginning to do this.
exactly. So that the real true point of the article is this well, it's a hashtag on Instagram and probably elsewhere called Me Made May. Me Made May, where, as she says, thousands of hip modern sewers and pattern designers are sharing their designs and their patterns. And there are some plus size accounts like.
And by the way, in the month of May, that's what the May is there for.
Exactly. Me Made May. Tangles and Starlight, fat.bobbin.girl. I'm not going to even try and pronounce this one because
We'll have a link to the article on all of our sites.
And the point is that you don't have to design these patterns yourself. You can see, okay, this is this pattern. It was designed for this body type, and start to mix and match what will work.
I'm going to throw out an additional tip for the day with this one. I discovered recently that at least for the Los Angeles library system and various other libraries across the U.S., they have appliances that you can rent as well, including sewing machines.
Oh, wow.
So you have the access to the materials and the more expensive aspects from this through certain local resources available to you. So it's funny we should be talking about this because as soon as I found out about the sewing machine, I have actually been thinking about trying to make something for myself.
I think that's great for the people
in a long time.
I think that's great for the people who are going to do that. I know me and not a lot of people I know are going to make our own clothes. But what I think is useful is if you have a pattern, you can take it to someone like a tailor or someone who does because usually that's what they're struggling with is they don't have a pattern. Or I mean, if in men's fashion, again, it is. The mystery of a shirt is largely a question of dimension, so they can measure you. But again, that often just gives you a dress shirt. It doesn't give you a cool t-shirt. And then what do you want on the t-shirt? What should it be made of? Should it be a stretchy fabric? Should it be muslin? I mean, what should it be?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really, and the storytelling in the article is also excellent. It's an opinion piece in New York Times, so she really does take you through her journey with it. So if nothing else, it's a really interesting read. But yeah, the access to the resources and the patterns, like that's a big deal. That's a big part of it. You don't have to make it yourself if you can bring the pattern that you feel might fit. And then, with some measurements and other skill sets, if you hire somebody. And hopefully, I mean, obviously most of us are based in LA, so having access to free sewing machines may not be the case everywhere. But if you do, I just certainly didn't know that existed until Dawn mentioned it. So it might be.
Some libraries have like toys and stuff too. I think it really varies depending on if you live somewhere that actually likes libraries instead of trying to close them down.
That's true.
Or turn them into prisons like Texas.
If you live in California, I got to say, check out the library system here. It is an unbelievable resource, what they have available for us.
Awesome. All righty. I think it is time.
It's time. Oh, yeah. There it is. That's the stuff.
That's the good stuff.
That was 2023.
Opening that fresh can of air.
Did you know you can sell air?
Wait, what?
Yeah, you can literally go online and buy a jar of alpine air that someone in the Alps will send to you.
Oh, we're not talking like concentrated oxygen. You just mean like.
Yeah, it's literally, here is a jar of Brooklyn air. Here is a jar of country air.
Fat Watch, baby.
Fat Watch, baby. We have another article in the New York Times by Lisa Kennedy. And this also inspired our main subject, but she talks about Fat Camp, or more specifically, what's the name of this place? Let me get
Camp Realize Your Beauty.
Camp Realize Your Beauty.
Oh, God, I hate the name. I hate the name.
I do too, but it's no worse than so many other
time.
camp names.
Camp Wanna Be a Racist?
This is a nonprofit, actually based in New York City, started by Stacy Lauren Merkel. Although the actual camp takes place at the YMCA of the Rockies in Colorado. So, or is it Colorado? Is that another Nevada thing? God. Anyway.
I'm saying Colorado. Y'all can fight me.
It's a Spanish word. And I think the fantastic part of this article is, I mean, it is what it sounds like. It is a very, I guess to use a loaded term, body positive camp for young girls. But the stories they have about the actual, like, it's not just this sort of overhead view. It actually goes into some of the stories and the experiences of the girls who are at the camp, and some of the things they get to do, like improv classes. And, you know, there's a story about, you know, they were doing, I think, a breathing exercise where they all lay down on their backs and worked on the breathing. And then one girl was like, I feel fat laying down. And so they got to kind of say, like, you're not fat laying down, you're just a person lying down. And at the end, seeing some of the reactions that these girls take with them out of this space. Like, one girl said, this is heartbreaking. I kind of get this, though. She was like, they were all sort of saying what they learned. And she was like, I learned that it's okay to make new friends. It's like, that's...
My heart.
That's really hard to hear, but also... really just tragically honest.
Yeah, it echoes the beginning of the article where the camp founder, you know, gives the message the first day. Because remember, you're dealing with like tweens who are, you know, everything is socially dangerous. Everything is socially dangerous. Everything is a risk. Everything is, you know, means so much. And the founder says, you know, like, girls, embrace the cringe.
Yes.
Like, because so many things are going to make you feel silly. I mean, any sort of, and it's not really a theater camp, but there's a lot of theater in it. There's a lot of theater exercises, but they don't do like a final play for the parents. What they do is the final project is a video compilation of like stuff they've done during the summer.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So it's not about like, let us show you how good we are now. It's more process oriented. It's more discovery oriented as opposed to results oriented.
That's really important. I don't know if any of you did it, but I went to a fat camp when I was growing up. I have fewer issues with it than you might expect, but I will say that the fact that it was so results oriented and those results were things you kind of just knew you were going to lose over the course of the year too, that broke many of the benefits of the camp for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, we can show you how to get thin and we're going to pretend that it's going to help you stay there forever.
Yeah, because they've got this mentality that, like, you know, we're taking you in because you're broken, and
but by avoiding that,
and then we're going to then there's community. See, because transformation is possible in community, and that's what this is about.
That was the biggest benefit of the fat camp for me, which is what they touch on in this article, was that there were so many kids there that were so damaged by every interaction they had with other people of their own age group, that when you put them into an age group, I remember the first week was a bunch of people realizing, like, wait, no one is being mean to me. What's going on? And then starting to open up, you know, like it was a good experience in a lot of levels.
I think one of the most kind of side moments in the article that was kind of mind blowing, because I think as adults, you kind of forget what it's like to be a kid at different ages. It kind of all just blurs together. Oh, you're a young kid, you're a teenager, you're whatever. But these girls who are running the range, I think from like 10 to 14, you know, around that age range, preteen and teen, were saying, I hope that there can be something like this for younger kids.
Yeah.
So that they can have this experience earlier in life, which you don't realize, like, as a kid, you know, 1 year, you know, is equivalent to like 5 years as an adult. It's just a total change in your entire life.
If you're 10 years old, 1 year is 10% of your life.
Yeah. It's just so much more compressed.
But I think that's one of the problems that parents run into too, is the advice that you learn to give to your 8-year-old that works perfectly. It's great for the 8-year-old. They have changed so much by the time they're 10, and you haven't necessarily caught up with that. And that great advice at 8 is social poison at 10.
I mean, my favorite part is the embrace the cringe, because I think that is all ages advice. And I think
there was a lot of that in our marriage.
Yeah. Well, no, because it's
just embrace the cringe, honey.
I think that is like something that I feel like, especially Gen Z, Gen Alpha, I don't know what they're up to. They're on their iPads. But like Gen Z really struggles with, because I feel like cringe has always been a thing. Cringe is timeless. Cringe is forever. But I feel like has really like been crystallized by Gen Z as like this thing, like the cringe. And the cringe is something that happens to you, but it's like everything is cringe. We are all cringe.
And you can die from it. And like they really think you can die from it.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to point out that like we're saying a lot of them, but I kind of remember being in that age group and feeling very much that way.
Well,
there are
that's what
adults that
saying.
operate.
Cringe is timeless.
Shame.
Is forever.
Oh, shame was just the poison. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I think that's a lot of what my mom deals with. And like doesn't realize like what she's describing is like, that's cringe. At 70 years old. I don't want to be doing that at 70.
No, you got to embrace it early. That way you can just understand how to live with it and be at peace with it.
See, and I think, theater kids, they live that. Theater kids, it's all about embracing the cringe.
Oh, it's so true.
I mean, that in amateur magicians.
Amateur magicians bring it to a whole new level.
That's right.
I have a lot to
Even
say
the theater
about
kids
that.
are like, ooh, back off. He's one of those hocus pocus people.
I'm playing Hamlet, but he pulls rabbits out of hats.
Oh boy!
But
He saws Ophelia in half in the second act.
I think
to get, I don't know,
Much better.
I think this is a good point to just kind of shove our way into the main topic.
we
Absolutely.
went off the rails.
Break through that membrane. We've been talking a lot in the past couple weeks about like camps and conventions and gatherings, community coming together. And really just doing this last article, and I think it's kind of like, it's the end of summer. I think it's kind of like the last real camp thing we'll see. And I was thinking about like, I would love to see something like this for our community. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it would be camp. I don't know if it would just be like a convention thing with, campy vibes.
Yeah, I think you'd have to sort of take it in one of those two directions. I think it would be tough. Just infrastructure-wise, it would be tough to combine them.
Well, and then also where in that spectrum does something, or if it's Michael's conception of it's a binary, where does something like Bigger Vegas or Cannonball fit?
Right, because there are different kinds of gatherings. For instance, those kind of communities, when it's a community based in sexual identity, it's probably going to be a very sex-driven convention, even if there's other things happening. Those exist, like we have that.
I will say, I don't think a camp could handle the number of CPAP machines that would be brought.
Just the pure electricity
So I think we're
draw.
just going like, it's going to be a convention.
And we're talking
Okay,
adult,
it's funny
by the way.
when you
We're not-
said
we've-
that.
We've gone above the age range
Yes.
of child. We're now in adult world. Just
It's
to
funny
make
that you
clear.
should say that because one of the things I pictured in my head, I mentioned a little earlier, I went to a fat camp when I was a teenager. The idea of like having everyone in the same cabin needing a CPAP. The first thing that came to my mind is like, you could just pressurize the entire cabin and turn it into one CPAP for all of them. Be like energy efficient. It'd be amazing.
Oh my God, that's right. And you don't need distilled water. There's pure river water just down the hill.
I gotta say, I kind of love the idea of this too, because like when I went to fat camp, one of the first things I realized was like, this is a camp where they're going to make us do all of the things we hate. Literally, it was all the things we hate. We're going to pretend that it's going to be fun when you're doing it here with other people who hate doing it. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I remember most. So the idea of doing a fat camp and making it a place where I would have enjoyed going, that appeals to me a lot. And that does not actually shy away from Bigger Vegas either. Because I found someone at Bigger Vegas. I think the other three of you are going to remember this and cringe because this was one of the highlights for me. And I think all three of you were like, shut up, Don. But I found a guy who had the scooter that wanted to do jousting as much as I did.
Yep.
And I was so excited by that. That is a summer camp activity. And why couldn't we do that? I was denied that when I was a teenager. I am adult now. If we're going to do this activity, I want fun things like that.
I sent this to all of you and I didn't really give any explanation. The Fat Boy Blob.
Oh, I think I forgot to open that. Tell me what
I
that
opened
is.
it and I could not figure out what it was.
So my perception of summer camp, and this could just be from the movie Heavyweights, is there is always people talk about like, oh, the blob at the lake, because summer camp is always on a lake.
Yeah.
There's so many lakes in our great country. And there is a blob, which is this big inflatable thing that like people go on and then other people jump on it and it catapults them into the air.
Shoots you up in the air.
Okay, so basically, for listeners at home, it is an inflatable. Well, and the one that Trevor sent looks like a big penis. But basically, somebody jumps on one end, and then the other end, someone is lying on it, and it catapults them.
You combine
dozens of feet in the air
and seesaw.
Yeah.
You just combine trampoline and seesaw, put it in a lake, and you've got the image.
But it's inflatable, and so it's obviously very.
And the more weight you use to like, because you can have one person at one end and then have like 5 people jump on it and they'll go higher. With how the website is designed, so it's showing like people jumping, but the frame kind of cuts it off. And I was imagining Michael on one end and me jumping on it and just launching Michael into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
It'd be the greatest journey ever taken.
That was one of the things I was wondering. It was like, because there's a large variability in weight that's going to land on that thing.
Yeah.
And the lake is only so large, like...
Reel us back on track a little bit. So Don suggested scooter jousting as a camp thing. I was thinking more in the convention world. Like if there was a sort of fat-friendly, fat-forward convention that...
Scooter jousting can happen at a convention, Michael.
That is accurate. Yeah. In fact, with my idea...
Not if we stop it, Don. Not if we stop it.
So I was thinking less like Bigger Vegas and more like an actual con, like just a gathering of people and relevant products and everything. So the convention hall, right? Like the vendor hall, like the place where all of these businesses set up, and it could, like Comic-Con is the one that I've been to, where all of these artists set up and they have their personal, like whatever their art form is, they set them up. And I was thinking, how do you make that experience more palatable? Because there are some things I like about it and some things I really dislike about it. And here's some suggested changes I would make to the vendor hall format. Number 1, you have triple wide aisles between setups, which would limit the amount of vendors, but I think would make it way more comfortable for the cost scooter rental at the opening to the convention hall. So that if you want a scooter, you can just rent it right there. You don't have to think ahead of time. And if you don't, then you don't have to. And then, of course, having tons and tons of seating throughout where you would have like benches, couches, lounges, whatever, little places where people can sit and socialize where you don't have to be on your feet the whole time.
I actually thought about one additional thing just for that. There are all sorts of vendors that specialize in like swings for bigger people, for outdoor patio furniture, all this kind of stuff. You could actually go aggressive, bring those people in and invite them to put their merchandise at various locations throughout the vendor hall so people can sit and look at the things and buy them if they like the seat,
I have to say, when you were saying swing, I was thinking...
Swing.
Sling.
You were thinking sling. No, slings.
Although you could put slings up during the vendor hall too.
And slings are vastly underrated, especially for fat people, because it sort of provides both optimum support and optimum access. The thing that this has been done before in that almost every big boy event like Convergence or Bigger Vegas or Cannibal, there is a vendor's hall. I think the difference here is that the vendor's hall is usually this sort of, not quite an afterthought, but it's certainly a sideline. Whereas if you flip that, because, one of the things that is kind of high stakes about, let's say, Bigger Vegas, is that I've often compared it, described it as like dating on a reality show. Like it's so sexually driven and it's so results oriented for many people. Not everyone. A lot of people are just there to have a good time, or, hey, I want to go to Vegas anyway, so why not go with, my peeps? So that's great. But I think having it where you suggest, Michael, where it's sort of focused on the community and service of the community, you could have mental health services, you could have clothing vendors, you could have products, you could even have mobility aids. You can invite people. I get so many ads for mobility aids that I'm like, wow, this is a really great idea, actually. I think that would be nice to foreground that, because basically you put enough chubs and chasers in the same place, there's going to be sex. You don't got to worry about
It'll
that.
happen. Yeah.
I mean, that happens at pharmaceutical conventions. It doesn't matter. Like, you just put people in a room and they're going to find each other. But I think it would be great to have products that are more community oriented.
Something I thought of, because I was thinking of our last episode, and I don't know how this would work, but like, I think as part of the whole like fashion thing and like some, kind of like, I don't think beauty brands, but maybe some like skincare brands. Like I can see Megababe being there. Megababe specializes in like skincare products for fat people. They also have it was geared towards women and femmes, but they also do have like a men's line of products that are basically the same thing. I think it's Mega Dude. But if there were like Chub and Chaser barbers and stylists.
Yes.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That was what I was kind of leaning towards, was like having experience related vendors in addition to like you bring your products and you set them up, but like also encouraging vendors to say like, hey, to the extent that this works for you, have an experience you can provide for people. Maybe the event sort of offsets any lost costs associated with like using your products or like performing haircut, whatever it is. Having the vendor hall be more than just like having to awkwardly window shop around people who are there hoping you're going to buy something, like actually providing experiences that like things you can go for free and just have them happen and have fun.
I was actually going to suggest a slightly different a methodology in the way things are presented too. So I noticed at Bigger Vegas, like a lot of the areas were segmented. So like this is the area where you go and you sit and have alcohol and you talk with people. This is the area where you go and you shop, right? And this is the area where you go and you swim and you be half naked. I think if there was more blending between the areas, it could benefit all of them, because all of that involved walking around sometimes long distances for some people. So if like that big social area had like one or two areas where some of the vendors could be invited to come in and show things there too, or setting aside a smaller area where like people could sit and chat in the vendor area, so that they could exist in the area and sit and look at things too. It's similar to what we're talking about, installing chairs in the vendor area, but simply creating spaces for those areas to blend and mix with each other. So you don't necessarily need to walk between locations for those different experiences. It could also open up like nighttime vending in the social hall. Just, it's less aggressive selling, but you'll get more exposure from people who might not go through the vendor hall.
You don't have to go to the.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to my point about having, to the extent that it's possible, having vendors that are providing experiences and their products happen to be there, rather than just like you set up and you hope people walk up and buy something or at least see you. Like if there's a way to coordinate those two aspects where the actual, the customer / attendee of the event is getting fun, free experiences just for showing up and walking through a room, that makes it that much more inviting, and I think also gets a lot of positive press out there. Side note, final thought that I had for this sort of larger vendor hall, convention hall thing was having roaming like food trucks, like mini food trucks, like so that you don't have to go find the thing. You can just sort of sit and wait for it to come. Yeah, food carts, exactly.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Anything from the trolley.
And how that is such a warm and fuzzy feeling. Like you just sit there and like you pick your things and you have your snacks and you're on a bench.
So moving aside from, I think the like vendor thing, I would love like creative experiences, kind of like art classes. I think like movement, some kind of like movement class, like I think a dance class. I think something with clay, I don't know, like fat sculpting.
Let's go back into what we started on today, like, a fashion show of the clothing that people have made for themselves.
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, yes.
An introductory class where people could make a swimsuit, for, or something in an afternoon, so you can understand this is not that hard. You can do it.
What's amazing is that fashion shows are absolute staple of all BBW events, and they are never present in men's events.
Yeah. Look, we got some good ideas here. Let's.
Something I would enjoy would be a cosplay event night. Because how many of us have made costumes that maybe we get to wear once a year and our friends have seen it already?
Yeah,
so.
You want an excuse to keep wearing. Look, I'm in that camp, absolutely.
Or it's a costume that you really want to, a character you really want to go as, but you feel embarrassed to do that in the general population. You want to be with your own people who will understand it.
Yeah. I mean, I will tell listeners, so Cannonball in Florida, which happens around Halloween, does have, because it's around Halloween, they do have costume party. I think it's more like Mean Girls Halloween, like where it's like I'm a mouse, duh. Like I'm in a jock strap and I have ears. I'm a mouse, obviously. But I think that is also an environment where your Obi-Wan Kenobi non-jockstrap costume would be appreciated.
Yeah.
Also, the Obi-Wan Kenobi with a jockstrap.
Honestly, that's easy enough. You just do like a early night event with like a dinner thing that all the family-friendly costumes come, and then the alcohol comes out over the course of the evening, and the adult section comes later in the evening. Like
and bigger Vegas has done that too, where like the big meal was also a costume party.
Well, no, Bigger Vegas doesn't really, like, that is the formal event, but for the BBW event, it is usually more of a costume thing where whatever the theme is, people will make costumes.
I also want to expand on, like, I know people roll their eyes at me when I talk about the jousting, but I think it would be a lot of fun to do like an obstacle course for scooters. Like, you don't need to have your own scooter. We'll supply a scooter. But like, do something like that. Do a mutter event for the chasers. So the fat guys get to see you looking all sweaty and muddy and oily. You can do something similar.
Mud wrestling?
No, a mutter event. Like, that's an obstacle course. It's,
Don.
And do it for the fat guys too, because the chasers are going to love to see us at the end of that course, looking all sweaty and oiled up.
To your scooter thing. The scooter obstacle course is just getting out of an elevator in a scooter.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm saying, like, like literally an obstacle course outside in the open. I think it could be fun.
I know, but I'm saying that, like, it doesn't. You do not. It is.
I see what you're saying.
You do not need an obstacle course for a scooter. Just navigating any event in a scooter.
No, but I want to. If I go to an event, I want to be able to do things that I will be excited about, that I will physically enjoy, and not, and that maybe feel a little bit made for me. Like, I want that. That's awesome.
So, dear listener, if you think any of these ideas sound cool or interesting, or you have some of your own, let us know, because this is not just a random idea. This is something we've been batting around a little bit, and we're slowly and carefully digging into more and more. So, I don't know. It would be cool to have that kind of feedback and to kind of know how, if we were going to do some sort of con, what you would want to see there.
Yes.
What about a bit?
Oh, you want a bit? Okay.
I do want a bit.
I brought a bit.
Give me it.
Okay, so since we're talking about camps, I thought I would dive into the wonderful world of summer camps from around the world. And my God, are there some interesting things out there? Oh, yeah. We got some interesting stuff. So, which of the following summer camps is the most expensive camp to go to in the world, topping out at about $20,000 for 6 weeks? 1. The Junior and Teen Camp Switzerland, which includes traditional camp activities, language courses, and skiing down the Matterhorn using the camp's private cable car. Also includes trips and excursions to other skiing locations all around Europe. 2. I don't speak French. Académie de l'Opéra de Pékin, based in Lyon, France, offers a place where children from around the world can engage with world-famous Chinese opera stars, learning performance, acrobats, and martial arts from professionals that have escaped from their homeland and teach the art in exile.
Okay.
3, Neptune's Reef Subaquatic Academy. In Dubai, United Arab Emirates, this summer academy is the first fully aquatic youth summer experience. Though ostensibly a summer learning program, classes are taught in clear underwater classrooms, offering breathtaking views of man-made reefs. The camp offers an underwater sports facility and pool.
That's so fucking Dubai.
Or 4, the Trump Summer Campstravaganza. In Hoboken, New Jersey, campers learn all about the exciting and profitable world of fashion by learning to assemble the finest pieces gathered from all around the world into top-notch footwear and handbags. Food is provided.
Number 3, Dubai Aquatic
Dubai.
Final answer.
Oh, we got all in for Dubai. In fact, the real one is the Junior Teen Camp Switzerland.
Oh, Swiss ski camp.
It's the ski camp. It's literally a luxury ski resort on the Matterhorn with a private cable car going to the top. All right. Second one. Which is the following is not a course offered at Guardian Adventures Zombie STEM Summer Camp based in Central Massachusetts?
That takes me back.
1, DNA and biology courses to best identify and cure zombies. 2, environmental and conservation tactics to prevent the rise of zombies. 3, 3, outdoor and survival and trap making. Or 4, marksmanship and hand-to-hand fighting. Which of these is not a course offered at Guardian Adventures Zombie STEM Summer Camp?
3.
What was 3 again?
3 was outdoor survival and trap making.
I think number 1, I think identifying and trying to cure, that sounds a little made up to me.
Okay, that's the one you don't think is in the Zombie STEM Summer Camp.
Yeah.
Either of you guys have a guess?
I'm marksmanship because I don't think marksmanship is in a STEM camp.
Okay.
The survival trap making.
Okay. The correct answer is, in fact, outdoor survival and trap making.
Of course, it's Trevor.
It's STEM courses, so it's a heavy emphasis on science.
Yep.
And the marksmanship
and the STEM part of that.
Yep.
Oh, well.
The marksmanship and hand-to-hand fighting is just because it's zombies. You got to have that. All right. Which of the following is not a real summer camp? Spy camp, sea turtle camp, skydiving camp, or Hollywood stunt camp?
Sea turtle
I think
camp.
skydiving camp.
Okay, we got one for turtles, one for skydiving.
I think skydiving just because.
Because that seems just the legal logistics of like the danger of skydiving. That seems a little intense.
I give you consent to throw my teenager out of an airplane.
That's a little,
The correct answer is, in fact, skydiving camp. Sea turtle camp is actually a thing in
totally.
North Carolina, Topsail Beach. You get to go and swim with sea turtles and learn all about sea conservation and that sort of stuff. And Hollywood Stunt Camp exists in Running Springs, and Spy Camp is in Lake Como, Pennsylvania, where you can learn how to trail people, surveil people, and martial arts and escapology.
You know, Don, that's just what they want you to think. It's not.
Okay, last question of the day. One of these is a real camp. I am not making this up.
Okay.
Which one of these is the real summer camp? 1, Michael Jackson Summer is Magic Summer Camp.
Okay.
2, Edward Gorey Summer Fun Experience.
I don't know who that is.
Edward Gorey is a famous artist who his most famous thing is this sort of gothic thing about an alphabet where each letter is a different way a different child dies.
Okay.
B is for
3.
Basil, who was buried by bears.
Yeah. 3, La Llorona Summer Swim Program.
Okay.
Or 4, Ted Nugent's Camp for Kids. Camp is spelled with a K.
Ooh.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to say Michael
boy.
Jackson.
Michael Jackson Summer is Magic Summer Camp.
I'm sorry, what was the question? Which one is
Which of the following is a real summer camp?
3 are made up. One is
3 are made up.
real.
1 is real.
I think the real one is. They all sound pretty convincing. I'm going to say Michael Jackson also because I feel like they just monetize the shit out of him.
Okay, we got 2 for Michael Jackson. What are you thinking, Dan?
I don't know any better, so I'll go with the Michael Jackson. That's probably wrong.
Okay, we got 3 for Michael Jackson. Fun with molestation for children, but no. In fact, who better to teach your child hunting, the 10 Commandments, and all the worlds to cat
Oh my
scratch
God.
fever than the one and only Ted Nugent?
Oh
The
my
the Detroit rocker, gun activist, and staunch conservative founded his volunteer staff nonprofit Camp for Kids, spelled with a K, in 1990. For 2 weekends each summer, little noogies aged 11 to 16 are taught basic lessons in life like international bow education, hunter safety and law, the golden rule, and the Ted Commandments. And Ted
Commandments.
And Ted Nugent does come and lecture them himself.
I bet he does. Yeah. And you know, when they graduate, they get their 3rd K. Oh, boy.
So, yeah. Dear listener, if you survived Michael Jackson's Summer is Magic summer camp experience, tell us all about it. Trevor, where could they do that?
Well, we're on Instagram
really
and Twitter
funny.
as @BigFatGayPod. We're on Facebook as the Big Fat Gay Podcast. Leave us 5 stars there. Leave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. See the articles we talked about at www.patreon.com. Support us on Patreon. See the articles we talked about at www.bigfatgaypod.com. Cha, I think I did everything.
Yeah, I think it's close enough. We do it all the time.
Bye.
Maybe you're at camp and you're on the blob and it's your turn. But we're all coming, baby, and we're about to launch you into the stratosphere. So
watch out!